Hello everyone, Superior Stacker here guys. Hope everybody's doing well. Today we're going to be talking about the Chinese gold and silver high demand. Is it raising prices? Well, they are a big buyer, I must admit, to either gold and also silver. They are buying it like there is no tomorrow. I wonder if they know something we don't know here in the USA or in other countries. Well, before we get to it, guys, I'm going to ask you a favor. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. That really helps out my channel, and thank you. Well, let's get to it, guys. Well, the Chinese citizens have been buying gold in record amounts. Not just the citizens, but also their central bank. Um, some of the reasons are because the lost confidence in traditional investments. Sounds familiar, right? Well, for example, the Chinese consumers have lost confidence in traditional investments such as stocks and also real estate. Those are actually not doing very well right now in China. The real estate market is not doing very good, neither are the stocks. Well, not as good as they should be, at least in the stocks. And then, of course, they were highly expensive on the real estate as well. A lot of problems going on over there. Um, so they're definitely looking for other ways to protect their finances, just like we are as well. And also geopolitical risks, such as like the conflicts happening in Ukraine and Russia, and also the conflicts in the Middle East. And who knows, even more might come. So, as you all know, during these times when geopolitical things are occurring and troubles around the world, people go to gold as a safe haven. And if they can't afford gold, they will go into silver, precious metals for sure. And also another reason is the currency depreciation. They and the central banks are also purchasing gold as a hedge against the risk of the currency's declining purchasing power, as inflation affects your purchasing power. So you can't go wrong with the precious metals, either it being gold or silver. And it sounds kind of familiar, right, guys? If I'm not mistaken, it does sound familiar to what we're kind of going through. We see the prices in our the groceries and just regular bills, insurance, etc., etc. It's all over. I think it's a worldwide thing going on for sure. So, believe it or not, but one thing that they are doing differently in China is their youth. Their youth is going crazy buying gold. And if they can't afford gold, they go to silver. But the main thing right now they're buying is gold in a small amount, of course, in something called gold beans. It looks like a little ball, and it has 99.9 or 4 nines, whatever is available. And it's normally at 1 gram. They do them in 1 grams, kind of like this bar right here. But of course, it's not in bar form. It's in a little bean form, a little bean. So they become so popular, especially with social media. And honestly, they can't afford buying big bars of gold or big coins like an ounce, half an ounce, or even the 1/10 of an ounce. They can't really afford that. So what they go to is the small 1 gram, especially the 1 gram gold beans. And that has just exploded with the youth out there in China. They are just going crazy for it, and they're buying it like no other. And the reason they're doing that is because they've also have lost confidence in the traditional investments, just as the other adults have in China. And the gold beans are so popular, especially in the New Year's, Chinese New Year's. It's a very popular thing to give to younger people as a gift. And also, they work hard and they say, hey, this is the only thing that we can afford is the one bean. And plus, it becoming very popular. The trends with young people, it just explodes. So you could go to any mall in China pretty much, and you will find many stores selling gold items, especially the gold beans. They also sell jewelry, bars, rounds, but what's more popular among the youth is the gold beans. And honestly, I find it to be very very awesome indeed. I wish our youth here in the U.S. was into gold as the Chinese youth is, because one way or another they're waking up to something. They're like, oh, this is real money. This it holds its true value through generations since the beginning of times of humanity. Gold and silver have always been something amazing to hold. By the way, this is one of my coolest bars I've ever got. It's a little bit more than a regular bar, but it's a poured bar. Very cool. Pretty sure you guys have some out there. And I'm getting out of subject again. Sorry, guys. I apologize for that. Um, so the young love to purchase these gold beans, and they are going crazy. And they get these little jars where they fill them up. They might get one a month, two a month, or whatever it is, and then they just try to fill up these little jars, and they look at it as an investment, as a something that they are just like an asset. Because honestly, they're having a hard time, just like our youth here in our nation, to make something happen from. Things are just so expensive. The housing is super expensive here in the USA, and I'm sure in other places of the world as well. I think it's just not happening in China, but also in the USA. We know that our housing is expensive, especially for the youth. I can't imagine trying to go in there and buying $300,000, $400,000 home, depending where you live. Some states are more expensive than others, of course, but still, it's not what it was 5, 8 years ago. It's just exploded as well. So that's what the youth in China are doing. And also, China, believe it or not, is a major consumer of silver, and it's used for industrial, of course, solar panels, which China produces some of the most biggest quantities in the world. They're the largest producer of solar panels, so they need a lot of a lot of silver to create these silver panels. And honestly, it's also as an investment because, as you know, if you can't afford gold, you're going to jump into silver. Silver is definitely more affordable, no doubt, and it's a cheaper alternative for sure. So, China's demand for silver apparently is so strong that sometimes domestic prices are higher than international prices. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Let's say right now, silver is like, it jumped back up. It's like $31 an ounce spot price. Can you imagine that all of a sudden, oh, well, instead of it, the premium on them, all of a sudden, let's say 31, let's say $2 more, $33 an ounce, and yet can you imagine in your country, instead of paying 33, it would be like $40 because of the such high demand? Oh man, I kind of feel for them on that one. That's kind of a bummer, but that just kind of shows you when there's supply and demand issues, prices will always tend to go up. So basics right there, guys. And China is the world's largest consumer of silver, and they also are one of the largest producers. Maybe not in the top 3 or 4, but definitely the top 10. They have a lot of mines in gold as well. They produce so much of gold as well, and they keep as much of it in their nation. They're also one of the biggest buyers. Their central bank keeps buying like a lot of gold, keeps adding to its reserves. And honestly, it's not updating its national account. I don't know what's really called, but the amount of the central banks of what it owns, it hasn't really updated in a while. It did a while back after we had heard it was buying all this gold, but they've kind of been holding back on that, kind of keeping it secretive to a degree. Well, guys, what are you guys' thoughts on this? Do you guys admire that the youth out there is buying a lot of gold, these famous gold beans? And unfortunately, some of them are being ripped off. So even authorities are telling them like, "Hey, be careful because there's a lot of fakes out there." As we all know, the famous Chinese counterfeits. You have to be very careful of that. They flood the markets, so I'm sure they would flood the markets in their country as well. Here's some fun fact. Actually, the Chinese government was forbidden to own gold and silver starting in 1949. They just lifted that ban in 2003, and since then there's been advertisements, you name it. The government has been encouraging them to buy gold and silver, and that was a very interesting fact for me. Like, why would they all of a sudden, well, it's been a while, but for the longest time, not allow their citizens to purchase or own uh, silver and gold, except for a few factors that not a lot of people were able to comply with those, and then all of a sudden like saying, hey, no, we are encouraging you to buy gold and silver. So that was a very big change. So something is brewing, something is going on. But as we all know, we're stackers and we just want to accumulate more, more and more, and not stop. Yeah, gold does shine nice forever and ever and ever. Definitely the king of precious metals, even though my preference, as you all know, is silver. Well, guys, please leave the comments. Please tell me about your experiences, especially if you're from a different part of the world. Tell me your experiences of what's going on in your country, and if it's easy to obtain or get gold and silver, of course, other than the prices and it being expensive. But I would just love to hear from all of you guys. So please take care, guys, and I will see you on the next one. I'll see you next time.